we are going to take our mask sketches now and turn them into buildings or sculptures of our sketch. So this is building day 1. I imagine this is actually going to be 2 days worth of building. So don't stress if you don't have a lot of it done by the end. Even in this video, I will probably finish the whole thing, but you guys will have to probably take breaks and things, so it's okay. What I want you to do is start, remember, in your layers. So look at the largest shape that you have, and that's probably the main head shape first. And pick your largest piece of cardboard that you brought with you and use that as your base. So whatever that is, try to make your mask as large as possible. So use a pencil to sketch out your design. So my face shape is not quite as long as I had originally intended it, but I have to make it whatever I have. Then it's time to cut my cardboard for the main face shape. Now this part gets tricky. Cutting cardboard, especially the thicker corrugated stuff, is not easy. You want to make sure that the cardboard is inside the blade of your scissors. So open those scissors as wide as you can and push that cardboard down. Then as you squeeze, and you have to try another cut, open those scissors wide again and wiggle that cardboard into that base. Don't try to take your scissors and with your hands push like this, which a lot of you kids do, because the blade is actually strongest on the inside where the two blades of the scissors meet. So constantly push that cardboard deeper inside that blade. If you do struggle, when you start cutting from one end, get about halfway. You can always take it and turn it over and cut from the other angle, and then where the two meet, you are good. I would recommend saving scraps because these could wind up being excellent pieces. You never know what you might need, so save everything. Now, the next step I want you to do, since these are supposed to be functional masks, I wanted to have my eyes cut out and a section for my mouth. So what I'm going to do is on this piece, I am now going to draw the approximate spot where I want those eye holes to be. Now, if it's supposed to be functional, you want to try to make it spaced apart for your eyes. So this might take some trial and error because you want to make sure that the holes are big enough for you to see through. My mouth, I'm not actually going to make it this big shape here because if you look, I only need a small portion. So I'm going to just draw like a rectangle. And it might be slightly smaller than what I need. We are not taking our scissors and stabbing our cardboard. Instead, what you're gonna do to cut out these sections is I want you to use your scissors and in one section, just cut a little slit that goes up to that spot. Then you're gonna kind of carefully start to pull and turn your scissors to make a hole in that mask. That's the shape you generally need. Now this part will get really loose. To support that, what I want to do when we start building these is we're going to flip it over and use that scrap piece as a brace between those two pieces. So you're gonna use your little bit of glue and you wanna put glue over the whole thing. This is not a case where just a dot, not a lot is going to work. We're gonna want a lot of glue because you don't ever want this to come apart. And then this kind of acts like a bridge between the two pieces of cardboard. You're still gonna see the cut line on the front, but if you look, you don't really notice that much. And by the time I add other details, I could probably even hide it even more. So sometimes it's a good idea to cut all of your spaces and then do the bracing, but it's a good idea to do it all at once. So I'm just gonna make sure that that's braced, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with my eyeballs. I'm cutting a little slit. Now the eyes, because they're curved, are a little harder to cut. So I start the shape off, and the shape might have to wind up getting a little bit bigger than what I drew. And this is the one where I want to go in from 2 different angles, and the cardboard might fold up a little bit to make it easier to cut, and that's okay. So I'm going to save that little scrappy piece, and instead of cutting across through the center where my nose would be, I'm going to come from the other side and then cut these out. Again, starting from one angle first. You might need to bend the cardboard a little bit to make it easier. And then once this is done, test this out on your face a little bit. Make sure your eyes can actually see through your holes. The mouth doesn't matter as much, but the eyes you definitely want to be able to see through. And just like we braced the mouth, we're gonna flip this over and brace the back. We don't need a huge piece. I'm actually gonna cut one of my eyeball scraps in half, and I'm gonna put glue all over the back. Remember, in this case, you want a ton, and if it oozes out the side, don't worry about it because this is the back of the mask anyway, and glue dries clear. Sometimes to help these actually brace down, you're gonna actually wanna press and hold and count in your head. This is the only part that I really want you guys to glue today. We're just gonna start building some pieces and working in layers to finish our mask. Doing one thing at a time, building it up. So now that those pieces are pretty dry, when I flip this over, I've got a good base, and it also sticks up off the table a little bit from those braces. And I can start building up my other layers. You really want to pay attention to them because look at how this triangle for my cheek is under where I wanted my tooth to be. So I need to do those triangles first, then add my teeth. For this, you can use a lot of different materials. So don't forget, you can cut shapes out of this. This could be a great nose. I can cut it to the shape I side, but I can also use toilet paper tubes, which this might be really good for like that horn shape that I wanted. But as I'm looking at this now, that horn shape's not going to be long and tough like this. I'm actually gonna take this and cut this in half. And if you take the toilet paper tubes, you can actually slice them. And then you can do really cool things like twist them and make one side, even if you make it like a triangle. So I unfold this a little bit. And if I cut this into more of a triangular shape, I can start to roll this up and it'll start to look more like that tube horn shape that I wanted. And then I can kind of glue those things together and hold those together and then put those where I want them to be. So you can see I could now add those horns where I wanted. So it's all about building up your layers. Check out the rest of this video to see how this turns out in the end.